Hi, how are you? Hello out there in podcast land. This is Mike and Jim, the Reloading Podcast. Tonight, it's one of those nights where we probably should have put it off 24 hours because I've been chasing sound problems with the board and had a crappy day, got out of work late. Don't even have a topic really to talk about, but we don't want to keep our fans waiting, so we're here. And I can't even mute my damn thing. All right, there we go. So, all right. So, only the live people are going to know just how much of a shit show this was, thankfully, to the miracles of audio. But those of you who are live, how do we sound?
Sound fine to me, Michael.
Okay, I'm worried about what they're hearing. So
yeah, because I think I get a better feed than they do.
Well, that's review. That's comforting then, and it's sounding good. So, all right. So, those of you who are in the podcast group, you saw that I actually went shooting on Friday. So that was fun. I went and finally popped the cherry on my new carry pistol. Ran a few hundred rounds through that, and then I shot my SIG P250 and 45. I was actually pretty amazed with how nice that thing shoots, given the fact that it's a double action trigger. So, just a couple of things. We've gotten some X and stuff in, so I'll start off with that. Chris from Mississippi says, great job on the Reloading Podcast. It's helped me in many ways as a new reloader and precision rifle competitor. So that's awesome to hear.
Amen.
And then we got one from a gentleman named Nathan. So it says, review of current product. Just watched the last show, 206, I think. I think I've watched every show from number one. I'm a relatively advanced reloader, 25 plus years experience. The last 5 or so shows are taking now a bit of dip in content per hour. In 206, there was laughing, giggling spell that made no sense, podcast version, and kind of a tipping point since the rest of the show had little content. 206 was a complete loss. 205 was close. One of you must have used a primer prog at Swager. Which version works best for you? How do you set it up? How do you judge the swaged project? Okay, overswaged, underswaged. What cases required swaging? That was sort of covered. Can you seat primers without swaging? In my opinion, you can. I got about 5% that I could not seat without removing the crimp. Why don't you cut the crimp out? And he says, thanks and good luck for getting back on the content wagon. So I guess what we're going to have to do, Jim, is every time we have a show that is for the new reloaders, we'll just have a disclaimer that says, attention, experienced reloaders, this show is for newbies. You may not want to listen. I understand where he's coming from. The thing that annoys me about this, he doesn't give me a single thing he wants us to talk about. As I've said before, if you guys are going to send criticisms and you're going to about content, give us something to talk about. I appreciate the feedback, but both of those shows were dedicated for new reloaders, especially the swaging show, because most people don't have a clue about swaging primer pockets, why you would, why you wouldn't. But
hey, Mike,
yeah,
forgive me for interrupting, but maybe we ought to take and also put in a disclaimer, because that show was highly video oriented. Maybe we should take and point that out, because I forgot all about the fact that we have listeners out there, not just viewers. So that's a mistake on us. It really is.
Now, the giggling fit, though, that was, I think, off of a joke or something. So, if we have a joke, then we usually leave it in there. Maybe the audio was bad enough where I had to take the joke out. So that's my fault as an editor for having nothing but giggling in there. I'm trying to take most of that out, and now I'm going to be even more judicious about taking stuff like that out of the podcast version. So for the audio listeners, we had a really bad hiss the last couple of weeks, so we've really had to do a lot of special editing, including a lot of noise reduction, so it makes it sound different. I've been playing around with stuff all afternoon, trying to check connections, see if I had any broken wires, see what's going on. I switched input and output on the board, and right now I'm kind of at a loss. I guess the guys in the chat say for the most part it's pretty good, but one of them says it has a slight wave to it, so I don't know if and that could be just me moving back and forth with the microphone, because I have a tendency to not sit still. So I don't know. I need feedback. Jim needs feedback. We need feedback, and we're not getting it. We want to make this product better for you. That's the goal. And I'm not being facetious, Nathan, about putting the disclaimer in the front. I'm dead serious. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you like listening, and I don't want to waste your time. If you're an advanced reloader, listening to the basic topics is not usually a good use of your time. So we do want to seriously let you know that. So, it's not that. But the only thing that annoys me about Nathan's comment is he doesn't give us anything to talk about. Give us a topic, and we'd love to talk about it. We've been covering the basic stuff because that's a lot of what we do, especially, some of the more advanced stuff that, like swaging primer pockets is something that we don't necessarily. So, but at the same time, I don't want to take us completely out of it because, that is kind of one of the things that's helped us. By the way, listeners, we're live Tuesdays nights if you want to tune in. Also, we're kind of, Trevor can't be here during the summer, and Jeremy's getting busy and stuff, and it doesn't work out. So, we're kind of looking for, somebody else to join us in the shenanigans and knowledge. So, or maybe a couple somebodies. You never know. So, if you want to join in on the fun and, maybe it's just once in a while type thing, then shoot me an email, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. If you have topics that you want covered, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. Reloading Podcast on Facebook, Reloading Podcast Group on Facebook. 608-467-0308. We do this for you, so we want to talk about what you want to hear. So that's kind of the main goal of this podcast. And like a couple of you in chat say, yes, even advanced reloaders learn stuff. I learn stuff every time we do the podcast. So I'm not saying that advanced reloaders shouldn't listen. I'm just saying there's those who don't really want to listen to the remedial stuff, shall we say? And maybe then we can save them some time, and then they'll want to listen when we do have some of the more quote advanced topics. So,
Mike, read the chat. Mike, read the chat.
Yeah, I am. Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, well, if I were to tell an experienced reloader, make sure you lubricate your cases, he would be insulted. But if I don't tell that to the new reloader, and remember, guys, we gear our podcast to new reloaders. The Reloading Room was done that way. Reloading Podcast is always about that way. It's a recipe that has met great success with other people. Stick with the newcomers. But anyway, the thing is, that's why we have to stay with the basics, is because we want folks to understand that, you just can't. All right, let's go back to another analogy. Bruce Lee said once, mastery of a subject is basically the basics mastered, or something close akin to that. So, we have to stick with the basics. Decapping a fired case, Okay, well, in this case, we were swaging the primer pocket to remove the sharp crimp because I myself have found it impossible to put a primer in a pocket that is not decrimped. I don't know about anybody else, but if you have a way of doing it, please, please, please tell me. Either you cut it out or you swage it out. Cutting it out removes material. If you don't remove the material, you have to move the material. And that's how Mike and I were doing with the RCBS primer pocket swaging kit that he bought. Well, I don't know if he bought it or not, but whatever. He's listening. He's working on an issue now. But anyway, I don't know what he did, how he procured the darn thing. How'd you procure it, Mike?
I think it's the fan on my stupid computer because it's like 85 degrees out in my garage.
Hold on, maybe I can help. Hold on, I've got to disconnect, Mike. Hold on.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Can you hear me, Jim?
Yep.
All right. So.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to shut off my wife's computer. There.
No, I had my microphone or my headphones unplugged, so I couldn't hear a thing.
Well, all right. I had to disconnect for a second too. Guys that are out there in podcast land, sorry about that. I don't know what you saw, what you heard, but I had to shut off my wife's computer. I hope that has helped with the sound quality, Mike. Her fan is terrible in her computer. Mark Kojer come up with a suggestion. He suggests, or just a suggestion, maybe we could dive into some of the more advanced reloading techniques once a month.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah. Like, for example, setting the shoulder back 0.02 of an inch. That I would consider an extremely advanced. Jason says the whine is still there.
No, well, if I shut my computer off, it'll go away because it's the computer fan.
Okay. Well, I take it. Well, me shutting off my wife's computer didn't help.
No.
Well, okay.
It's the cooling fan on my computer.
I'll get my share for what I did.
So, and unfortunately, it's a small tower that's right behind the monitor. So.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron.
Right now, I'm just trying to get the volume up.
Well, Mike, we are allowed to have short shows. I know we generally try to give our friends an hour every week. But at the same time, we need to do a little bit better preparation. Thanks, Russ. Appreciate it. You too, Kyle.
Yeah, it's the fan on the computer. So, all right, guys. So, Jason, and by the way, Jason, nobody wants to see my butt. It's a bad idea. He wanted me to stand on my head, so. So the one thing I have noticed, Jim, is with your headphones, the way you've got them, is when you move too much, they rub against your shirt, and it picks that noise up. Because your microphone's right there.
Yeah, right here is the microphone, I think.
Yeah. So maybe we can duct tape it to your face.
I could staple it.
Ooh, that'd be fun to watch.
Well, let's see here. Got to make sure I have the staple puller.
Yeah, because you don't want to leave it in there when you're done. You know, that might cause problems, safety problems.
Oh!
There you go. So, I don't know. We'll figure out something for next week to move that computer so we don't have the fan noise. But, I don't know. Anyway.
I've been trying to keep my hands away from my face because that's half the show. You know, it's seeing us. I don't know if that'll help or not. I've draped the wires over my ears behind my head.
Yeah, that helped. So.
Good.
So here's one. This is on the group from Robert. He says, I've been working up a 308 wind load, and I think it may be at my max load, but not sure. This is the first reloads to show crating on the primer. I'm not sure if my primers are just soft or if it truly is the max. The velocity has been about 100 FPS faster than the book velocities in all of the reloads so far. It's 0.7 of a grain below the listed max in the Hornady 10th. Picture that has two cases. On the left is a factory Hornady Precision Hunter 178 grain ELDX, and the right is a reload. So he's got Hornady once fired cases, 150 grain Hornady Spire Point interlocks, Federal 210 primers, IMR 4064, and he's shooting it through a Winchester Model 70. Says he's new to reloading and doesn't want to blow everything up. Thanks for the help. So have you seen that picture, Jim?
No.
The primers are weird. So the outside definitely shows a little bit of pressure signs on the reload, because the outside of it's kind of flat. Where it actually meets the case, that's been pushed back and kind of flat. But the other thing is it's actually got, you know, like when you drop a pebble in the pond. And as the pebble goes down, it makes a little sploosh, and the little water comes shooting up, but then you start to see the ripple emanate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like around the primer.
Can you send me a link to this, Mike, over in the show notes? We'll take it out later.
I can share it live, actually.
Please do.
So this is what we're looking at here.
Oh, okay.
So see, this is the factory load over here on the left, and this is his reload.
I've seen it. I have seen that photo. Okay, I didn't realize you were talking about that particular photo. I think what that is a long firing pin.
Okay. Well, that's freaky.
Talk about making me dizzy.
Hope nobody's watching the show live with vertigo.
Exactly. But anyway, no, I believe what that is because if you look at the outside edges of the primer, it's not flattened. Yeah, Mike, you got it exactly. How you on the left one particularly?
Yeah, if you look at the left one, it's not. You can still see the roll from the edge of the primer. However, on that right one doesn't have that roll.
Let me see if I can find it. Copy that over.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd be able to see it.
Mike, you can unshare the screen. I'm going to go over to the podcast group.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Let's see here.
Okay. Got it. Yes, it's put up by a gentleman by the name of Robert, and I've got the whole posting in front of me. That's not a hot load on the left, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a factory load. So, God, I hope not.
Okay, on the right case, he does have a little tiny bit of flattening, but that could also be an overly sized case, shall we say, where the shoulder sets back and the case is a little too small, and the firing pin drives the case forward slightly, and it starts to extrude. When the round goes off, it starts to push the primer back out. Well, then, of course, by that time, normal gas pressure takes over and shoves the head of the case back, and the primer itself has nowhere to go, and it makes it appear to be flat. I have to make my matter for someone. Hold on.
No. Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit, but nothing. I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's enough to be concerned or not.
I also am looking for, at the brass itself, I'm looking for ejector port markings, pressure markings that way, and I don't see any. I don't even see a good rub on the bolt face. Now I do see a faint circular line, which is probably normal, just normal wear and tear. In fact, I don't see it on the factory round, but I see a mark. It's like by the dot in the front of where the Hornady, and that dot, that circular mark appears to go all the way out past the Y in the word Hornady. But anyway, I don't really think that's a pressure problem. Let's see. Let me reread. Wow. The velocity has been about 100 feet per second, and the book includes, and the book velocity is all the reloads so far. The load is below 0.7 of a grain below the listed max in Hornady 10th edition. Well, we'll have to take and give Mr. Brewer, I'm sure he'll know this, but I'm sure we have to give him the courtesy of telling him we're using his posting for show material. Give him credits and kudos. But anyway, no, I don't really see a problem. I do see the cratering, but again, I see cratering in the factory round too. I'm thinking that's a long firing pin myself. Of course, a long firing pin would also pierce that primer.
It could. So, depending on the length. But Tom says excessive clearance around the firing pin and the bolt face. Take it to a gunsmith to have it pushed.
Absolutely, so. That would do it. Okay, Mike, I'm going to get off Facebook to save my bandwidth.
Yep, that's fine. So that kind of shows one of those problems that could look like something, but maybe isn't. So that's kind of one of those things to pay attention to and to look at when you're trying to figure out what's going on with something. You know, double check what you're assuming, or better yet, don't assume. So.
Well, it's good that he's got to run them over a chronograph, because a chronograph will tell him more than we can. Especially the tidbit about 100 FPS faster. But the 100 FPS faster, that could also be calibration in the chronograph.
Right.
You know, that's the thing. He might want to double check that. Run a few factory loads. I think his name was Robert. Robert, run a few factory loads over your chronograph and see if you're getting. High, fast data on that, high velocity, which would be an indicator that it's a chronograph.
So, one of the questions in our loading room is about Cellier and below primers. I'm on my second 5000, and I have yet to have a misfire. So, I just wanted to pass that along because I know that's been asked quite a few times, because usually they're quite a bit less expensive than some of the other brands. And the other thing is you can usually find them. So I don't know if they have a Magnum. I've never bothered to look, but I've used them for 9 and 380, and I've had good luck with them. So. But that's a good thing to keep in mind when you're looking for primers, is checking to see what other people have had problems with and what cartridges is more important. All right, so here's a fun one from the reloading room. Attempted to shoot my first 50 reloads today. Complete failure. They wouldn't cycle.
That's a topic for the basics. So the advanced reloaders might want to listen in. They might not.
So, but what if you've loaded thousands of rounds and all of a sudden you have a problem?
All of a sudden, but yet the first, let's say 4,000 rounds are okay.
Yeah, say you load for a while and then you come back later, and what are some of the issues that could cause something like that?
Well, personally, I've never had that problem, but
right.
One thing could be room temperature. Could be possibly. I'll tell you one that's really surprised me was a ladybug in one of my cases that I simply didn't notice. I couldn't figure out for the life of me why the cartridge looked high, powder looked high in the thing. I poured it out, measured it, poured it out, measured it. Everything was fine. So I finally saw the dead ladybug buried in the powder. But anyway, that's one of the things that could cause a change in size. I would say possibly lubrication. Welcome back, Mark. Lubrication, stickiness, trying to feed a brass case in a carbide die, and you might have case lube on the mouth of the case or something like that, or shaved lead shavings. That might have something to do with it.
All right, so turns out
what I'm saying is that material could build up in the. Right. I have actually seen lubricant build up in the seating die, on top of the bullet nose. I've actually seen a bullet lubricant build up there to the point where it was shoving the bullet in quite a bit too far.
Right.
But that wasn't all of a sudden. That was gradual. That was my carelessness.
Yeah. There's lots of different things that could cause it. The linkage could break on your press, and all of a sudden you're not putting any powder in it. Mm-hmm. Somebody could have messed with the die. If it's a single stage and your you're switching out dies and you think your lock ring's holding like it should, but it doesn't. That could be a problem if you don't check it, because you've been loading thousands of rounds, so you're confident. Now, it turns out this was a newbie mistake. He didn't bother checking the loads to make sure that they were the correct overall length. And that was a problem. It wasn't a problem of action cycling. It was a problem of failure to feed. So now what if you get a bang, but the action doesn't cycle in a semi-auto? What should you look for?
First thing is you unload your firearm. Remove the source of ammunition first. Clear the chamber. Make sure everything's out of the gun. Then take the gun apart, pull the bolt out, do whatever you got to do, and make sure your barrel is not obstructed. I've had it happen.
Yep.
Squibble, they call it.
Yep. Anybody who's listened to the podcast knows I've had it happen.
It was interesting because that was on my G22, and it was a round with no powder. And I thought I could drive it out with a pencil. I was wrong. I literally had to go and get a brass rod and drive the bullet down out of the case back down through the chamber, because it was wedged about halfway up the barrel. I could not believe how much pressure it required to push that bullet back out of that handgun barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Considering, you got 35,000 PSI inside your chamber when you fire, well, maybe that explains a few things, eh? I can actually hear you clicking your mouse.
Yeah, I'm scrolling. So somebody had asked about the mech single stage press, and unfortunately our mech expert, who actually owns one, isn't here tonight because he's working. So we're going to table that for next week. But we'll make sure we get back to that.
Possibly table it for the next time.
Yeah.
He's on the air.
Yeah. So Jason should be next week.
Hope so. Oh, don't tell Jason I said that.
Excuse me for a second here. Dogs decided that out here was a good place to start wrestling. So. All right, so we had a question back on 199 about brass flakes.
About brass what?
Flakes. So it was a gentleman, newer reloader, and the question was, Single stage 45 ACP brass, once fired, store-bought, then reloaded. Washed with stainless steel, pin tumbler with Dawn Let Me Shine, and then rinsed with deionized water. Fired from two P220s. Lead carbide resizing, depriming die. Was using Hornady one shot. So after the initial cleaning and combination resizing depriming step, he's observed brass rings flaking off from the case. So I don't know if you remember that one or not. Dave sent us this message following up on that. He says, I'm having the same issue with brass flakes, and I've been trying to track this one down for a while. Living near to Dillon Precision, you lucky yada. And I use a Dillon 550. I broached the same question with the guys working there. Before I tell you their answer, let me give you my reloading info. I'm going to hurt my dogs. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Hey, in the house. Go on. Nobody wants to hear you today. I heard enough of you before.
Yeah, he had to mute himself, folks. It's just material we don't need to have on the air. Meanwhile, he's chasing the dogs out of the house. It sounds about right, Aaron. Thank you. And what everybody is saying, the consensus in the of those that are chatting in the group here, the consensus was it was over crimping. And Mike didn't hear me. Yeah. Maybe he did hear me.
No, I didn't hear you.
Okay.
I said you can't hear me because I have myself muted and then went off on
the consensus was in the chat. Consensus is over crimping.
Okay.
You were about to read us his answer first before he gave us Dillon's.
All right, so Dillon 550, 9 and 45. Range brass, deprimed. Washed with stainless steel pin tumbler with Dawn and Let Me Shine, rinsed and dried. 4-stage press with Dillon dies. Yeah, 550. Powders, Winchester Autocomp. After processing, visual inspection, and plunk test every round. Okay. People at Dillon had an interesting take on this. They asked me if I noticed on the round struck my press, does it hang a little bit? My answer was yes, but not very much. Their take is this was caused by the flaring tool. Notice, the one thing we have in common is we both wet tumble. Their take is that with dry tumbling, the polish provides some lubrication to the case. With wet tumbling, there is no lube, and this is causing the brass slivers, as I call them, and causing them to stick slightly on the downstroke. By the way, I get this with both 9 and 45. I'd love to hear any thoughts you might have on this. Take care and keep up the good work. So that is an interesting take. Well, it would make sense because most of your dry tumbling media either has rouge added to it or, like most of us do, we add some sort of automotive polish to it.
New finish. Right.
Yeah, new finish is the only way to go. Unless, of course, somebody, like the one gentleman, had somebody donate some McGuire's to him. And then there was no gentleman who had him donate some top-notch stuff. That's an interesting take. So... I'm wondering more, though, if it's maybe the dry tumbling because of the maybe because of the way the material works, it actually has a better chance of wearing that off.
I don't know about that, Mike, because I've never wet tumbled. I only dry tumble.
Well, that's what I mean. Is typically dry tumbling, it's smaller, but it packs tighter.
Right.
As far as I know. I don't know for sure. I've never wet tumbled with stainless steel. I've wet tumbled with Let Me Shine and Dawn using a ultrasonic, but never with stainless.
That's washing. That's not tumbling.
So, hey, they tumble.
Oh, I know that. What I
I'll
meant
shoot you a
was
video of it.
you're not
sometime.
using the stainless steel pins, because I've actually
Right.
heard of guys in the reloading room that are wet tumbling with Lemmy, Sean, and Don, the LSD treatment.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're getting all kinds of chemistry issues there.
So, well, the problem is, as I showed listeners one day, if you let it sit, if you let it run for, a couple hours and then you take it out and rinse it, you're fine. However, if you forget a couple cases in there and let them sit, well, I don't remember what episode it is, but people got to see just how bad that stuff will eat a brass case. So, excuse me. The one guy is a new reloader, and it's a single stage. The other gentleman is using a Dillon 550 with the 550 dies. I think that we're still right with the fact that it's from factory stab crimping. I think that's where it's coming from. It's just a matter of how it's coming off. So I think that's the big thing. But I guess I'll have to start paying a little more attention when I am doing that. All right.
Bookham's got a point. He said, quote, I also get shavings with the Lee factory crimp dies. And those factory crimp dies do work the neck of the case or the mouth of the case quite a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would make sense, because that Lee factory crimp die is the same style stab crimp.
Wait a minute. Now, he's talking handgun. Remember, Mark, I don't believe he only reloads for the 1 caliber 243. I'm pretty sure he's talking about factory handgun ammo, which wouldn't use an FCD.
You can still get it for it. So.
Yeah.
I agree with the reloading press. I like the Frankfurt Arsenal Trickler. I haven't noticed it leaking, though, with ball powder. So I did notice the O-ring dries out really bad real quick, so I just got to make a trip to the hardware store. So the reloading press joined us tonight, which is cool. Always nice to have other people join us. And, yeah, unfortunately, he picked tonight to join us, which isn't necessarily one of our best shows ever. So
No.
So here's one of those questions. Should I buy reloading manuals? Or should I just use the internet or bum off other people? What is the benefit of having reloading manuals for all reloaders?
Sorry, Jim, my attention was elsewhere.
What?
I apologize. My attention was elsewhere.
Okay. So, should I buy more reloading manuals? Should I just use what's on the internet? Should I just ask in my favorite reloading groups? Why would I want to spend money on books? What's the point?
Well, the book is never going to change. The information you get on the net is dynamic. It changes every day. And it's influenced by experience. That's influenced by experience. It's influenced by attitude, opinions. You know, 5 grains of unique is a pretty stiff charge in 45 ACP, or 38 special, I should say. It's a pretty stiff charge. But you know what? That depends upon the shooter, too. Also depends upon the frame of the gun. Also depends upon whether or not it's in a 357 Magnum or a 38 Special. Nobody bothers to just take the time and say exactly what they're doing. So, you know, that information is subjective. And that's the thing, too, with these published loads. That never changes until they put out a new edition. Jim Fleming changes his mind like he changes his shirt every day. And Daryl Guyton's got a very good point. There's a lot of extra information in the reloading manuals besides the recipe charts. What about ballistic tables? They can help you determine the kind of path your bullet's going to take, you know, over long range. And another one's got a very, very, very good point. For in tough situations, and the internet goes down, you know, we depend upon electricity and stuff like that for when the SHTF stuff goes on.
Mm-hmm.
You got a printed manual, it's not going to go away.
Right.
This podcast will be one of the first things to go if times get tough.
Right. Yeah, because with no electricity, good luck. Can we reload with no electricity?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We all do. If we're the only thing that we need electricity for is to run the case trimmer. That is to say, run the electric drill that's connected to the case trimmer.
Or in my case, it's still got a hand crank on it. So
mine has a hand crank too.
The reloading process says manual support the companies that do the testing, and there's more info than just data. Always more info than just data. So, and yeah, like Steve Crawford said, it's fun to compare 30 years ago to today's loads. Also, Warner said cross-validation, absolutely. If you look in one manual or you get a site off the internet, internet can be hacked. Not saying it's ever going to happen, but you know, there's unfortunately some people out there that aren't right in the head. And it's entirely possible that some of those people that are anti-gun could be extreme enough to just want to cause enough damage to change things. Just imagine how fast reloading data would get pulled down from the web if we had some bad data out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like 15 grains of tight group and a 9mm.
Boom. Right now, boom. But anyway, no, the point is too, the Ogden page, it's put up by human beings. I got to sneeze. You'll have to excuse me. Sorry.
Exactly. Hookham said something sweet. The Hornady manual gives me several different powder amounts with speeds instead of min and max. Yeah, if you go to most of the online sites, they're not going to give you the whole line. They're not going to give you min and max. They're not going to give you as much information as you're getting out of those manuals. So.
Anyway, I forget my train of thought before I sneezed. Oh, Kuiper's got an interesting one. Jeff Kuiper. He's talking about electric powder dispenser. You know, reloading scale, powder scale, powder dispenser.
Yep.
My powder dribbler and my scale are not electric.
Yep.
You know, I start out reloading without electricity, and I'll probably finish up without my reloading without electricity.
Yeah. Yeah, I have basically the only thing that I have that absolutely has to be electric is case tumbling, and even then there's a way to do it without it. I just take all my walnut media, put it in a little Rubbermaid tote, and away I go. So.
Funny thing is, for years and years, I reloaded without tumbler.
Yeah.
You know what happens? Your brass gets tarnished. That's all that happens.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. You should. The first book I think you should buy. And Mike, I put something up in the show notes. If you would, for this set of show notes, please include that link to the
Sure.
book. It's for the book ABCs of Reloading. Remember, this is about newcomers. This is a book about reloading, not a reloading manual. This is a book about how to reload. So there you go. For the newcomers, there's one for you. But anyway, you know, the reloading manuals, they're great as far as it goes. The information never changes. It's stable, it's static, but yet, like I said, the information on the net is volatile. If you don't have access to the internet, you don't have access to your reloading data. And we've all experienced internet outages. In fact, we experienced internet outage the day we were born, and for quite a while after that. And I just realized I need to download my reloading data. Sorry, Jeff. It's about 35 bucks. That was directed at Jeff Kuiper. He said, well, there's another book to put on the shelf for future reference. He and I were kind of joking at each other about my comment about the ABCs of reloading.
Yeah.
You have a couple powder scales, don't you, Mike?
Yep.
I know you have that old Redding beam scale. I have my RCBS 1010. That's all I have.
I've got the old Redding beam scale. I've got that old Hornady Pacific, which there's an issue with. So one of the blades has got a nasty curve in it. So.
Yeah.
I've also got that old Krupp group. Probably millions of Germans going, ah! When I said Krupp. I have my Lee. I have a RCBS M500, which actually I have loaned up to somebody right now. But I think that's a fair swap because I have his Chargemaster Lite, so I think that's a fair trade. Then I have my Hornady AP Auto Charge or whatever that I really need to sometime call Hornady and see if they're going to do anything about, since it doesn't throw a charge without crashing. Scale works great. Scale's awesome, but unfortunately won't throw a charge. But,
and you know what, Crawford? Steve Crawford's got a very good point. He said, quote, you can use the books also to verify an old-timer's handwritten load data to be sure it's safe, as in inheriting an old gun in the data sheet or inheriting old ammo that you're not sure about. You can actually check, see if he actually had IMR 4895 in a can or something like that, and see if he's got it 48 grains of IMR 4895 on a 168 grain bullet, or whatever the recipe calls for. That's something you can actually do, is use the books to confirm, to double check that data. Yeah, you'll have to pull the bolt around or two apart, but if it's okay, put it right back together.
Interesting. As I was scanning through the reloading room, somebody posted something on there. It's a Omega 50 chamber chiller, rifle chamber, and barrel cooler. Takes 4 AAA batteries, and it's a 50 millimeter, basically looks like a computer fan, to chill your barrel in between shots.
That sounds like a novelty item.
Yeah, it kind of is. Hey, somebody else who uses a Loadmaster. Awesome. I'm slow.
Scrolling through, I'm looking for it myself for a barrel cooler.
No, it's quite a bit down.
Okay. I take it there was a photo with it.
Yep. So the reloading press said you also need the book for wildcatting case reforming. Books are a tool that should be purchased before your first press. So, oh, he said Johnny's reloading bench just built a barrel cooler. So, and Werner says gets my SD down to low single digits. Jim, you want to explain what SD is?
Sectional density. Oh, sorry, standard deviation. Sectional density refers to the bullet itself. The SD also the. God, I just lost my train of thought. Sectional density, standard deviation. Standard deviation refers to the fact that Mr. Kollmeyer is chronographing his ammunition, and it's a well-known fact that good sectional density, good low sectional density, is usually very precise ammo. Remember, we try to reload precisely, not necessarily accurately. Sectional density refers to a ratio of bullet weight divided by bullet diameter, I think it is, or it could be the other way around. I forget. But anyway, in his case, he's talking about his standard deviation.
Mm-hmm.
By that, I'm saying he might fire 10 shots, and then I've seen in handgun ammo as much as 350 feet per second deviation, my own ammo. You know, and I'm sure everything's fine, but you know what? It was out of my Dan Wesson 357 revolver, and maybe I was a little light because, you know, usually I load that stuff in bulk. By that, I mean it might have been a case where the round simply didn't have as much powder. Sectional density, 350, well, sectional density, I did it again. Standard deviation, 350, that's pretty extreme. But that's caused, that if it's a reference to the pressure that you put in your chamber every time you fire a round. If it's the same, your sectional density will be, doggone it, standard deviation will be the same. I think I need some more rum. I haven't had any since Sunday.
You have too much alcohol in your blood system. Or, I mean, too much blood in your alcohol system.
Exactly.
So here is a smashing example of why you want books. So I want to give credit where credit is due. It'll let me. So Ben posted in the reloading room. Barnes Brook versus Hodgdon Sight. Big variation in minimum and maximum. Here's the kicker. 30-06, 130 grain, H4895. Hodgdon powder. All right. Hodgdon says starting load of 48.0 grains with a maximum load of 53.1. Barnes says starting load of 52.5 with a max of 55.5. The 55.5 is only a low density of 95%, so it's not even a compressed load. But that kind of tells you the difference. And also it goes back to, you know, a comment that keeps getting repeated over and over and over. It's lawyers. So, you know, that Hornady stuff can be changed on, or the Hodgson stuff can be changed on the fly with little couple of keystrokes, whereas the book's out there for usually 2 or 3 years. You know, you get a lot of variances like that. Unfortunately, Barnes doesn't lift the pressure, but a Hornady's max load is only showing 46,100 psi for 30-06. So, but that kind of just gives you an idea of that type of issue. Why you want the difference, or why you want the printed data versus the easily changeable.
Well, there is one other reason, but it's really not relevant, and that is the fact that those pages, web pages, are put up by human beings. What if, don't tell me we don't make typos out there. What if it's a simple error? Somebody transposes the data for 58 grains and hits it at 85 grains. Yeah, they double check, but you know what? After a while, you see screens and screens and screens of numbers. Screens and screens of numbers. You know, you get kind of confused and lost. And thumbs up, Aaron. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah, he suggested I try gin. He said, here's it lubricates the tongue well. But anyway.
All right. Well, I don't really see anything else. So I'm, you know, all the way back to the middle of May. I don't really see anything that's more of an advanced question. It's all basic stuff. So I guess we'll wrap it up for tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for all the feedback on how we sound. I'm hoping that noise is strictly the stupid computer fan. I don't know how I'm going to get around that, but you know, we'll take a look and see. So, yep, exactly. Definitely be able to do all your reloading without power is a good thing. So
you might have to reload during the light of day, but that doesn't require power.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend lighting by candlelight. So,
no.
Thanks everybody for stopping by and tuning in. I want to thank everybody who sends us their thoughts and everything. And sorry for the audio. I'm going to tear the whole entire system apart and put it back together and see if I can move the tower. And I don't know. Yeah, I got a lot of work ahead of me. So first I got to get the podcast previous episode posted. So you've got those advanced questions. For crying out loud, send them to us. Yeah, sorry, JH. Yeah, you kind of showed up just about time to say bye. So, you know, send us those questions. And sorry, Tin Man. Next week it'll go longer. So, oh, Tin Man, I thought you were just talking like Scooby, because you said, yeah, so, there you go. I kind of, you know, we want some advanced questions. So what are some of those advanced questions that we can do and we want to talk about? So trying to set up a time for sure. We're going to have somebody that a lot of you spend time on some of the shotgun groups know come in, and we're going to talk about shotgun stuff. It'll be a fun show. Obsolete calibers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Reloading myths. We should do a show on reloading myths. So everybody should be sending us your favorite reloading myth. Reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. Email them to us. Yeah, definitely case conversions. We can talk about that. Yeah, we can actually talk about with outgoing into obsolete calibers too. So, but yeah, definitely how you can make some of those obsolete calibers out of today's brass. There's resources out there. You just got to be able to find them. So that'll be a fun show. How you do it, what the process is, that type of thing. So, there you go. But Kyle says, yeah, like you reload to save money. But see, that's a partial myth. But we'll delve into that later. We'll have numbers for you and everything. So, thank all the Patreons. The Patreon Facebook group is up and running. Don't get a lot of movement in there, so we need to kind of, I kind of respond. Most of my stuff on Facebook right now is responding to posts more than anything. So you guys post in the Patreon group, and I'll try and post more in there too. So, Aaron, that's not reloading they're talking about. That's unloading something, but it's not reloading.
If you reload too much, you'll get hair on your palms.
Yeah, no, not so much. All right, folks. On that note, if you're stopping by Amazon or Brownells, swing by firearmsradio.tv. Hit up the Amazon or the Brownells links. Helps out the show. Helps out the network. You can find us every week, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central. And thank everybody for hanging in there. Send us those questions, especially the advanced stuff. We can cover basic stuff all day long, and it's good. But we need some of the advanced stuff too. So, all right, folks.
Hang it up, Mike. Hang up. Don't go there, because someone will take it out.
Keep that brass shiny.
And squeeze. Don't yank that trigger.
What about keeping your powder dry? Oh, he's painting tonight.